Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the SLB Show. We are back, having missed out last week because it was international break. We all took a week off to refresh, recharge, and get ready to go for the run into the season. I am joined as usual by Louis, but you'll see we have got a special guest. We have got now back-to-back Player of the Month award-winning Patrick Robinson. The Cheshire Phoenix guard is averaging almost 20 points a game. Sir, welcome to the podcast.
Nice having me.
So, Patrick, how have you enjoyed life so far in Super League basketball, but also life in Cheshire?
Life in Cheshire is cool. I love it. The fans are very supportive. Has a nice home-like feeling. English being the primary language is obviously the best thing. And then Super League itself is a great league. The media is on top of everything. So much publicity. I love it.
And so we always wonder, how did you end up landing in Cheshire? Like, obviously, we'll touch on other leagues you've been in, but obviously you were kind of MVP of the league in Ireland last season. But how did you become aware of like Cheshire's interest in you, and what kind of prompted you to sign up for them?
So the day after my season ended, Ben had shot me a message on Instagram, and I texted my agent what had happened, and then before you know it, I was doing research. I was talking to people on the team about how it was, and yeah, we came to an agreement, and play style fit, and I'm having a year.
As you just touched on it there, Ben shooting you a message, but how have you found working with Ben Thomas, and how much does he demand from you guys? Like, even yesterday you were 30 points up, and I can't remember who played a quick pass, but he was instantly annoyed at you all guys for kind of dropping a standard. But yeah, how much does he demand from you and as a team?
I'd say he demands as much as he can from us, whether we can tolerate it or not. He's a perfectionist, and that's part of the reason why we're higher up in the league than we are. And he obviously just expects everything out of us. He thinks we can do more. He definitely doesn't sell us short, so he demands a lot.
Louis, you got any questions for Pat?
Yeah, of course. So you came up from West Liberty, which is a very good D2 program, obviously. Actually, firstly, did you and Will Yoakum cross paths at all? Because
Yeah,
obviously
he's on
you
my
played at
team.
West Liberty.
Yeah, I played him for
that's
3
sick.
years.
Yeah, that's sick. So obviously that's typically been quite a winning program in D2, and then obviously went to Charleston, had a really good run there. How do you reckon that that experience on being on kind of winning programs, maybe not obviously like a high major program, but how has it been being on these winning programs? How's that kind of developed your kind of game style, etc.? So yeah.
I mean, you just gotta be selfless. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta know what it
Yeah.
takes to win, and you gotta pick and choose your moments on when to, take over a game, but it not come off as selfish. So you gotta get your teammates involved as the way you speak to people. I've kind of gotten familiar with it, so I love it, and hopefully I can continue that with my career.
Is I think when you talk about college, obviously started off at Holy Family, you then went to West Liberty, ended up at Charleston Cougars. We talk about the modern kind of college game, players moving about, trying to bounce up the way. How tough is that though? Like having to play, maybe there was a season at Holy Family, then that was 3 years at Liberty before getting that opportunity to D1.
It's hard, obviously. I kind of compare it to a lot of people's overseas route. At first, you start lower and you climb the ranks. You just got to prove yourself at each level. Obviously, you'll be doubted, especially me as an undersized guard. You got to play with a chip on your shoulder and show people, why you should be picked up. You have to prove it to them.
But is that something when you think you're playing with that chip on your shoulder, is that something that you have to almost learn yourself? Like you're in these programs, but sometimes you got to say, do you have to be selfish? Is it the team element that helps you get going, or what kind of thing do you think it is?
Um, I wouldn't really call it, being selfish. Part of it is because obviously everyone wants stats, but if you could get your stats in a way that helps the team win, I feel like it's a win-win on both sides. So obviously you got to figure out what the team needs and try to be the best at it. So whatever they're lacking, you got to pick up on it. So that's how I see it. And the chip on the shoulder just comes from being doubted and proven not only to the world, but to yourself.
And why do you think a lot of times you're saying about being doubted? Where did those doubts come from? Like to me, when I look at your resume, obviously you've worked hard to move up. You've won accolades and awards at near enough every level you've played at.
I would say it started in high school, before then, but in recent memory, high school, simply because the Philadelphia Catholic League, I'm sure you heard of him, Quade Green, he played at Caledonia. And I was in his league, and we, obviously bashed heads. He was really good. He got to Kentucky from the same league as I was in.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the same looks. I don't know if it was the play style, whatever it was, but I was the leading scorer in that league. And for some odd reason, the phone wasn't ringing. I didn't have any college offers. So Holy Family offered me, I want to say the last week of August. And
Wow.
like, I didn't really have a place to stay because it was so last second. Slept on the couch my first semester. Like, that's where that doubt comes from and that fire that you might see me have during games.
Wow, but that just tells you, like, to me, that comes across in the court the way you play. Like, it's yesterday having to maybe play a slightly different role with LaQuincy being in foul trouble. You kind of put the team on your back and kind of maybe played slightly different to what we've seen, because normally we see a lot of you and LaQuincy on the court at the same time. But that comes across in your gameplay of having to take the opportunity, show what you can do. And like, that's insane that you said you didn't get any kind of calls until like August. Like, to me, that I'm watching you play, that I find that so surprising.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta take what's given to you. So obviously, the chance that they gave me was the chance that I had. So obviously, when I got the chance to prove myself in this league, I was all for it.
When you go, Lee.
Yeah. So with your game style, you're obviously as an undersized guard, you are like incredible getting to the rim, almost like a kind of like a running back, kind of like a smaller running back, kind of like the U2. I mean, you always get to your left hand, but like it's impossible to stop you getting to your left hand. How did you kind of develop that kind of game style in being that undersized guard but able to score on anyone basically at the rim?
I don't know, just determination, really, because it got to a point where I was a lefty, and obviously when I was younger, people would always force me to my right hand. So most people would probably, obviously like, okay, I'm going to get my right hand better, and this season I'm gonna work on my right. But I did the opposite and made my left hand stronger, and I wanted to almost make it to where like it's impossible to stop me one-on-one going to my left hand. So I did the opposite of what traditionally people would do, is work on the right hand. I just put double the time on my left hand.
So the big question is, I have for you in that one: how would you stop Pat Robinson getting left?
Send doubles. I'd send help. That's what I would do. I'd send help.
Good answer.
I love that. I want to play a game with you slightly, or I've got 7 questions here, and I want you to give 1-word answers for them, Pat. All right. So just choose 1 word for the next one. Is it 7 questions, 8 questions, whatever it may be? 1 word, quick sentence on whatever else. Are you ready for it?
Yep.
All right. So, best attribute you bring to the game.
Gravity. Gravity is what I'd say. Yeah.
Right. Favorite venue you play in the SLB?
Newcastle.
Toughest matchup you've had this season?
Is this for a player or a team?
Player. Let's go player.
Kane Henry from Manchester.
Jordan or LeBron?
LeBron.
Favorite food to have in the UK?
Whew. It's 2 words, but the steak bakes, I like them. Those are
Steak
good.
bake.
Yeah.
Fair enough. 1 word to describe your game.
Left.
Nice. If you could be pro at any other sport, what would it be?
American football.
And what position would it be? I'm going to say running back, but
Running back, yeah.
fair enough. I like that.
Did you play in high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Is there any other British baked goods that you like? Is it just the steak bake?
I don't know. I kind of keep it simple. I don't really do much of the bakery stuff. I kind of just get regular stuff. Bread. I don't know. I like the wheat rolls are cool. I kind of eat clean, so yeah.
So we had one of the players last season on, and he described himself as being pancakes were his favorite food, right? So this is kind of an extra question, man. What would be your perfect pancake toppings?
Maple syrup. That's it.
I love that. Love that.
Simple.
All right, back on to your basketball career. Obviously, life on the road. You've been in Lithuania, Bosnia, and Ireland. Obviously, won Irish Player of the Year last year. Your journey to get to where you are today, from even going back to high school to what you're saying about being on a sofa to now, like how hard was it, those maybe deep dark days in Lithuania and Bosnia, to get to now? How tough at times were they?
Tough, especially with just the weather itself. It was hard. It was hard out there, obviously, because your rookie year, it's your first year away from your family. You have no idea what you're going into. You're not really in a country you want to visit or go on vacation to, especially you're not in the hottest city either. So it's rough. It's hard, and then no one's really speaking your language, so it is definitely something difficult.
And is that just the massive learning curve? Obviously, I think, am I right in saying you signed in Lithuania in the January, so it's like deepest, darkest winter?
Yes.
Were you ready for that?
Yeah, I mean, I could adjust, obviously, but there really wasn't much to do. You got to, just stay in the gym, and we didn't really have gym access. So a lot of time was spent just in my room. It's not like I can go for walks because the weather's terrible. So, like, really it's just connecting with your family and staying close with God and just keeping your head on a swivel, honestly.
And when you then got that opportunity in Bosnia, how did you find that experience playing in Bosnia?
I didn't like it. I felt like they was very keen on their import players, so like they were really close knit, and I feel like I came in and I just didn't fit the culture. Like basketball was fine, but I don't know. I just feel like they had a certain level of like just I don't want to call it hate, but they just disliked me from the jump. So it was definitely a weird situation, but outside was cool.
Is that then when you look at offers for the future, you're able to, I suppose, as you kind of advance in your professional career, you look at those options available. You'll no doubt have that relationship now with your agent of knowing kind of culturally what's a better fit for you. Would you agree with that one?
For sure, definitely.
Hey, Lee, question, you go.
Yeah, so obviously you've played in Lithuania, Bosnia. Kind of what's the playing style difference? And how do you reckon Cheshire's obviously kind of different style of playing? How do you reckon that suited your game specifically?
In Bosnia, it was very slow. Like it was always pick and roll or cross grain, big man. Like it was the slowest pace basketball possible. Like no fast breaks really. And then Lithuania was decently fast. I liked it. They did a lot of, ball screens and empty quarter pick and rolls. So I did like playing there. But playing here is the fastest pace possible. Like it reminds me back to college, like when you're just up and down, you're shooting, you're trying to just draw to kick, hit people open. It's a dream to play in this system.
And is that not the case? Like I watch obviously a lot of the games here. Cheshire is fast of the fast of the fast, isn't it? Like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, obviously massively transition based, and that for you that must be like a dream. And with all the shooters on the floor, for you to get to the rim, that's just
Is that a case when you look at your time in Ireland last season, getting Player of the Year? How did you enjoy that kind of Irish experience? It's probably not known for being a big basketball nation compared to maybe being obviously Lithuania, Bosnia, and even probably rated lower than what it is here. But how did you enjoy your time in Ireland?
I loved it. Ireland was a heck of an experience. Obviously, I like the people I met there. I still talk to some of them. They really brought me in, especially transitioning from Bosnia to Ireland. It was like once again like the best possible thing for me. It really jump started, I guess you'd say, my professional career. I got to show people all the things I could do rather than just playing in a limited role. So I loved it. It was great.
Is a case when having that kind of season, getting messages quite early on into the summer, did it make your summer last summer relatively straightforward, maybe in comparison to other ones?
Yeah, I knew exactly what I was doing. That was the first year I ever signed before September. So like I knew exactly what I'd do. I was watching the playoff games, seeing where I could fit in, seeing some holes in other teams or I was just learning the league, so it helped me a lot. It was straightforward.
Louis, you got another one?
Yeah, so obviously you had that whole summer to prep. What were you working on in the gym to get ready for the season?
Really, I was just working on my body. I was working on my body. I was shooting a lot, but I kept it pretty simple. Honestly, I just wanted to give my body time to rest. Obviously did a lot of isometric strength training, speed training, and just some shooting and finishes around the rim. Kept it simple.
And is it a case when you're coming into a new league, new team, new teammates? How did you find that initial period settling in at Cheshire? Obviously, you knew players like Skylar White had been around the league or in Cheshire for a few years. LaQuincy was coming back to play at Cheshire. How were you excited for the kind of season ahead when you first arrived?
I was ready, especially everyone seemed like they were on the same page. We all wanted to win. We all came from winning programs. Felt like I'd fit right in. So I was excited. There was no real learning curve here.
And on your time here, we see obviously Cheshire sitting second in the league. Um, and a lot of times, and I suppose people in Cheshire won't be saying it, batting almost playing above expectations that a lot of people around the league would have. But what are the kind of season aspirations for the team?
Me personally, I think we have a roster that could compete with any team. So obviously, we lost London in the cup, but we beat them the second leg. Um, I mean, we beat every team in the league, so I would be selling ourselves short to say that we can't win the league itself come playoff time.
Louis?
Yeah, obviously, Cheshire typically play with a chip on their shoulder because obviously expectations, etc. So how, obviously, with that kind of underdog mentality, how do you kind of draw upon that and kind of use that to improve your game?
Uh, I mean, you don't really have time to get tired because obviously you're already doubted on. So, like Ben always says, you can't get outworked as an underdog. So that's what we do. We simply just try to outwork our opponents as best as we can, leave nothing on the table, and when we go home, we should feel like we left it all out there.
And obviously, winning back-to-back awards, you come off the bench. I want to ask that question first. How do you like your role this season? Like, you're coming off the bench. You've only had, 3 starts of this whole season? Maybe 4 now?
Yeah.
But how do you like, obviously, you're finishing games. It's probably when you're on the court at the big time. But how do you find that role, kind of coming off that bench?
Initially, I didn't like it at all. Obviously I want to compete, so where I'm from, the best five usually starts, and obviously I felt like I was one of the betters on the team, but it doesn't really necessarily mean that here. For us, we kind of have a certain way how we play, and once I figured out that's how it was, and I switched my mind from thinking of just myself to put on the team and how Ben wants to run his team and he wants points off the bench, um, and I got adjusted to it, it was fine. So right now I'm content with it. But I guess it matters on what team and what system and open communication.
And then when you look at the way Cheshire play, is that what makes it quite fun when you've got someone like the Quincy beside you, or even like I think one of the most improved players from the start of the season to now is Demiri Lindo in terms of what he's able to do defensively, but also offensively. Is that quite cool for you to see someone like him, his growth as well?
Yeah, I did think that he was going to be one of the ones that improved because I wouldn't say he had a slow start. He was just learning. So, but from what he was back in September to now, he's a completely different player. I'm excited to see how his career goes because he has a lot to show people.
Louis?
Yeah, obviously you're playing alongside Policelli and Skylar, who are categorically the best, like some of the best shooters in the league. Like, what is that like? Because you've got so much space to operate on the court. What's that like?
I love it. Obviously, I kind of recruited Frankie here. Ben couldn't get in contact with him.
Yeah, because you guys played together.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
did you
yeah,
just play at the same
Charleston.
college? Yes.
Yeah, I spent the summer
Yeah.
with him at Charleston, so I hit him up and it was easy. He was looking for a place to sign. He signed here. I got and the fact is they have a quick trigger, so like you can't really help off too much. So by the time I pass it and they catch it, it's already in the air. So playing with them, it just opens a lane and it gives me all the space I need.
And did Ben give you a recruitment fee for getting Policelli in?
He was stingy with it. He did not. He was a little stingy with it.
But does that help? Obviously, having that prior relationship, able to help a guy like Policelli comes in, because we would we did a video pre-season. We were so curious to see how your game would grow from being in Ireland to here, having someone like Policelli and Skylar White who are straight out just shooters. Like, it seems like that whole team in the court just kind of fit into the roles really well. That must be just make it so enjoyable to play.
Yeah, I love it. Just both of them, and then Frank, I already know his game decently well, so I know where he wants it, where he wants to catch it. I mean, he could shoot it from anywhere, wherever. So it's easy to play with him. Once again, a lot of space.
And then when we look at Pat Robinson, he's coming off the bench. We talked about this a few weeks ago on the show. Like, you've got a real opportunity to be not only sixth man of the year, but also in the MVP chat. Is that something you look at? Is that something as a player you can't not look at? Or are you just thinking one game at a time, winning as a team? Or what are you going to give me as an answer to this one, Pat?
I mean, obviously, the political answer would be to I let it all play out and I don't focus on that. But obviously, you see us up on social media, and sometimes you use it as motivation, good or bad. So obviously, hearing something like that makes me want to try to achieve that. And plus, if it can help my team win, I feel like it's a great award for me, and it'll show how valuable I am to the team, but also how good my teammates were to allow me to be that player I am.
Louis, you got another one for Pat?
Yeah. So just because obviously earlier in your career, potentially teams didn't really see you as a shooter. You know, typically you were kind of like a lower volume 3-point shooter, but I think this season, I think definitely you've kind of shown your ability to, you know, knock down the open three. How have you kind of developed that skill as your career has gone on, basically?
A lot of the shots that I was taking earlier in my career, I didn't really like. I like shooting shots off the dribble. Here our system doesn't really promote guards, me and Q, to shoot off the dribble or when they go under to shoot the three. So obviously, like the shots I get here, they're kind of wide open. So it's pretty easy to knock them down. Obviously in Ireland last year, I was at 44%, but they were all shots that I was comfortable with. So yeah, just confidence, shooting them in practice, seeing it go through the hoop is all the confidence I need to translate it to games.
I love that. And so when we head into kind of this big part of the season, is this what you as basketball players look forward to, the race into the playoffs and then for that playoff battle to start? And is it one of these ones when you look at the way you guys play, you guys are you guys ready to just hit the ball rolling when the playoff starts?
Yeah, I think you definitely need to, I think, turn it up because usually the hottest team wins when it comes to playoffs. Records go out the window. Whoever has momentum usually is the team that wins. You got to be healthy and have momentum, and that's usually the trend. So we need to, fix all of our flaws and get better at what we're already good at, and just keep the momentum for playoffs.
I love that. Pat, this has been superb. We'll let you get on with your rest of the evening, but mate, this was quality to get you on. Really, best of luck for the rest of the season. I don't think I'll get to commentate on you again this season, but really enjoyed yesterday again to watch how you played. And yeah, tremendous. And thank you again for coming on to our podcast.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Have a good one, y'all.
Perfect. Right, and that was Patrick Robinson. What an absolutely brilliant guest to have on. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed that. And yeah, he's been tremendous to watch this season, hasn't he, Louis?
Yeah,
Almost called you
very
Louis.
exciting.
Louis.
It's been very exciting. So it's a pleasure to get him on.
Pleasure to get him on. So we're going to keep going. We've got a couple more discussion points we want to kind of talk about after kind of an action-packed weekend of SLB action, some massive talking points around the league. And it's probably where to start. We talked a couple of weeks ago about Newcastle. Really, where are they having to look behind them? But, Louis, I think we're now at the stage where we can say top 8 is definitely, let's be honest, decided. But Newcastle really picking up and finally maybe delivering on the quality of the roster they have.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of been a kind of a byproduct of obviously their injury to Burden. It's really well, firstly, it's forced them into playing Mitch Clark in the starting lineup, which I feel like has really aided them in having a kind of just a role player.
I mean, how much is obviously playing NBL last season? How much has game developed throughout this season? There was a few people calling
early
for
in the
like he wasn't seen as being like almost performing to the level expected of him or what people maybe thought, but in recent games he's really kind of gone, you know what, I belong at this level.
Yeah, early in the season, it didn't look like he belonged at all, to be honest. But recently, he's been very impactful. I mean, defensive impact wise, stats wise, he's been like top of the league, literally. And I think that's really showed in the Cheshire game, his level of defensive versatility, like it's guarding in the post.
Yeah.
It's just massively difficult to kind of score on, and just the hard worker. You know, Newcastle haven't really had that level of players that really do work hard on the defensive end, and Mitch Clark obviously brings that in spades. Ray Sean Taylor has kicked on recently. That's been a huge part of their wins. Obviously, post his 50-point game. So, yeah, Newcastle's kicked on. I think this is representative of their talent level. They should be winning these games. They shouldn't be eighth, but obviously it's good to see them.
And I
start
suppose
winning.
we talked about them, and obviously in the preseason said what we said, and we've said this a few times. But the changes they've made, bringing in Okafor, changing at the guard, Hammond coming in, obviously Maceo Jack kind of settling into the roster as well after he was added. They're a team that I don't think anyone's want to play get closer to the season. Gus Okafor looks to be better as well. Like, they're a team that's, and if you add Josh Ward-Hibbert in soon, I've kind of put all my eggs in Josh Ward-Hibbert being an absolute baller. I'm turning Josh Ward-Hibbert into prime Kobe is the way I talk about him, I think. But Newcastle may be getting back to some sort of form at the right time.
Yeah, and as we know, Stu in the playoffs last season against the Lions, they somehow got the shock victory, even after I said categorically no way.
So you did.
Yeah, I did. So with their level of talent, it's not a team you're going to want to face. And obviously, if someone like a Ray Sean gets hot, it's going to be tough. So,
and then they add in, I almost think they've got the classy smooth operator and like Cole Long as well. Like,
Cole Long's been terrific. Yeah,
and people often say, "Oh, Grant's just a Gladiators fan; he won't praise anything to do with Newcastle." But it's really tough to say that. But they're beginning to they've turned that corner. They play the Gladiators on Friday. Yes, they do play the Gladiators Friday. And it's a hunting ground where we've actually had quite good success in recent seasons, especially since Johnny's been coach. But I'm not going into that as confident as what I probably should be. So they're definitely a team that I think a lot of clubs won't want to face, home or away, right now.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, their form table says it. So, yep. Next topic.
And next topic, another team who went 2-0 this weekend, or this week, if you include, or we will include, obviously. The big talking point from the week was their win against the London Lions. They also then convincingly beat the Gladiators, or wiped the floor of the Gladiators. They've still in Europe. The cup finals coming up. Manchester they're now within a chance of second place, and I don't think we would have said that a couple of weeks ago.
No, we wouldn't, but now they are. I said it at the beginning of the season, so I'm happy. I'm happy it's finally coming true.
I think you and I both said that Manchester would be second.
Yeah, we both said they'd come second. I mean, their talent at the beginning of the season when they all came in, we all thought, yeah, they're obviously going to come second.
But we thought this would be what would happen. We would see Manchester, London in at least one of the finals. We're going to get that.
Yeah, we are because the way. Get that.
I mean, it's a fact. They're playing each other. Like, it's a fact. But we wondered, and we didn't get the Manchester we expected at the start of the season. However, we're getting them now. And okay, they're missing, like, Kane Henry's hard to play. Kyle Cleary seems to be carrying a niggle that he's in and out of the roster. But they've somehow began to get they've got PJ Smith playing well, John Johnson playing well. Zach Irvin's coming back to that peak Zach Irvin we saw at times last season as well, and putting up some good numbers that you almost feel as if, like, and I think it was last week or last show we did, like, Kyle Carey is someone that I think every roster needs a Kyle Carey type player, British guy who just does the absolute, does it all for his team. And they're in you're almost in a dangerous situation where, okay, they've played they beat the Gladiators, which obviously was a bit of a redemption game considering the Gladiators were 2-0 against them this season, the only team they'd have a winning record against until that point. But if you're looking at that Manchester, let's go back and touch on that Manchester-London game, the first game or it was Wednesday, wasn't it? What a classic game. Obviously, we had the trouble at the end, which you can see did we put a video on our Instagram? Did I make that up? Did we do something?
I did, yeah.
I shared it.
You shared it.
We collabed together. But that's the type of rivalry we expected to see from these two teams, wasn't it? Maybe not the handbags, but in terms of that kind of...
we love the handbags, though.
Oh, the handbags
we
make this talking
We need
stuff
more
so
handbags in
much
this league. It's just... Look, man, it just creates more interest in the league. I love it. I live for it. I want to see more handbags, but... Yeah, it's...
Because, okay.
Go on.
Gave us a boy and doesn't need to go and flex in front of the London bench.
No, he doesn't.
Sabonis then reaction to Otten is Otten's just trying to shake hands and get on with it, and then there's all sorts of people involved in the background.
And the GM sneaks by, Otten, everything's going on. Lens is in the background.
Lens is there as well. And you know what? And you look at that Manchester team, like you've got players just saying, like, let's just leave it. Or Manchester assistant coaches just saying, come on, guys, let's get on with it. And they play each other, obviously, at the cup final. I think we've got another league game as well. They've both won on each other's court, for example, this season. But I'm excited to see what Manchester can do. We're saying about what no team will want to play Newcastle. But if Manchester are firing the way they are, like Max Jones playing really well, like kind of being the Max Jones I think you thought he'd be.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And if Manchester are kind of, again, another team that's peaking at the right time, it makes this, and obviously we've talked about this midfield battle for quite a lot of times, but actually Manchester might be making it more of a top three rather than a London, then Cheshire, and then kind of who have you got? Manchester, Sheffield and all that, and that next rung. Manchester part of that now, top three in my opinion, properly.
It feels like they're stretching ahead of the midfield pack, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, with the quality of their squads, it just makes sense, doesn't it? And maybe league wise, maybe they might drop the occasional.
Yeah. And I suppose, okay, I'm saying this, and if we go and talk about the next topic in terms of, obviously, we look talking about teams who have gone 2-0 on the flip of that, London going 0-2, and okay, we're not including Sheffield in that top kind of three battle, but arguably, I mean, we could talk about half the teams right now. I obviously easily could, but it just feels like Cheshire know how to get it done over Sheffield. Cheshire have the wins on the board. Manchester, that kind of next team. But that was a huge window for Sheffield over London. Like the way they controlled that second half, that was massive.
But it feels like it's a positive sign comparatively to what came beforehand, last week. And obviously with the subtraction of Mervyn James, it just felt like the on-court kind of process looked better. They played a lot more fluid. They weren't as stodgy. They were getting the ball to the right spots. They were allowing, their guards to kind of...
And the British basketball statement of adding back via subtraction.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference. Like, it's like Mervyn James wants the ball, whereas now you've got one less person wanting the ball, but you've then got your two bigs in the middle who, like Farrell and Mike, don't necessarily demand the ball.
Yeah,
they play such a nice way that they can go get their points by offensive rebounding or being a disruptor at the basket, and it kind of suits the way Sheffield may want to go.
Look, the roster construction theory of it is that you have two of the best creative guards, like one-on-one in the league, added to that Nick Kern, who obviously showed in the London game, but you have two of the best creative guards in the league. You don't want someone else that's going to take, on-ball possessions like Mervyn James did, in ISO, in half court, taking up possessions, not being valuable off ball. You know, you want players that will work off your two guards. You know, if they're going to take a majority of your possessions, well, you want them to take the majority of your possessions in that respect because they are so dangerous. You know, you don't want another player to get in the way of that. So, if that makes sense.
Simple as that. And we talked about the flip of that. London dropping 2 games. I think there was a bit of chat in the Discord being like, will they lose as many games as they did last season? And this team this season's arguably of greater quality than the Lions team of last season.
Arguably, they've literally factually, they literally spent another $1 million.
Literally spent another $1 million.
So
they literally have spent more money on this roster. So it's factually fair enough. But
factually true.
And obviously you look at maybe the imports that, like Jonathan Williams, he was brilliant to watch at the start of the season. Lucas Yunis has kind of dropped back out of the roster. Don't know if he's hurt or not. Obviously McGusty, he did something to what involves his injury. I can't remember what his injury was, but they have had a lot of injuries to their frontline bigs. Tariq seems to be struggling with injuries. I wonder if Dean didn't play at the weekend purely because I think he'd played about 100 games in about a week. When you add in all the Lions games, both GB games, and then coming back from Italy, and then he played Wednesday, which I found crazy to think that he'd probably or played Monday night in Italy, flew home Tuesday, and was back on court Wednesday. Like the life of a modern pro in Europe. In my opinion, that's insane. And Dean Williams is such a valuable player for them. Like he is. I feel like when Dean Williams plays even medium well, London win.
Yeah, well, it's just another additional defensive piece for a team that's calling card is defense. They win by shutting down teams. You know, if you don't have that extra body, and obviously Sheffield, Manchester, they are obviously larger teams. They have been able to spend on high major talent or equivalent who have the physicality and the size to compete with London. You know, so that's the team where you want a guy like Dean Williams to be able to switch, you know, to be able to impact.
And I suppose without him, we look at London, they've not really got, Joe Scott, but behind that, they're then having to rely on, say, an Aaron Rye to play some big minutes. Ethan Price as well has had to play probably a lot more minutes than I think many people would have thought he would have. When you looked at the roster initially recruited, you wondered how big a minute maybe Ethan Price would have played.
Oh no, I thought he was gonna kill. But
yeah, I know, but
that's just me.
Not when he was at probably.
I do get what you mean.
Like obviously Jonathan Williams is Jonathan Williams and what his
literally
kind of career's been. Like
he's not
literally played in the NBA. Exactly.
Literally played in the NBA. But factually played in the NBA. But as you're kind of speaking to, obviously London with their injuries, they are not that $1 million budget team anymore.
No, not right now.
Because you're getting rid of some of their key imports, obviously as we're speaking about with Dean Williams and Jonathan Williams. You know, they don't have their core kind of offensive piece in McGusty, who was literally like a massive cog in their offense. That's when they were winning games in Euro Cup.
And they missed Joel Scott for the best part of 3-4 months.
Yeah, and Joel Scott, he wasn't as impactful in the Sheffield and Manchester game. It feels like he's getting up to speed. Obviously, an additional part of that is because Manchester and London do have the size at the 4 spot. So if we see earlier in the season where he literally killed a Leicester, they didn't have the size to compete with him. That was before they had Mark Lovin. That was when they didn't really have the size. But he kind of struggled with Will Lee's length at the 4 spot, and obviously Manchester have Tim Adekasi, who I love. But
is he your newfound favourite player?
Maybe. He's definitely up there. But no. Literally impact wise, he's literally like top 5 in the league. It's just insane. But
that's one of your favourite stats, isn't it? Impact.
It's important. It's important, Grant. It's important. But he's literally 6'6", 240 pounds. I don't know how much that is in kg. Maybe like 110, 115. But he's a big boy. And, you know, Joel Scott's a physicality guy. He gets his advantages from physicality. So it's not as impactful against like a Tim Adekasi and Will Lee, who's 6'9", the huge wingspan. So it's so those are games where he's not as impactful. And then London don't have their core offensive cogs in, Magusti, etc. I don't think their new guard, what's his name?
Oh, I always remember Chonde Brown because he's got such a brilliant Hopkins.
Yeah, Hawkins. I don't think Hawkins has been as impactful offensively as potentially they were expecting. I mean, he killed it in Europe Cup, but previously he wasn't. He was kind of like a middling Europe player, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, so they don't have the offensive firepower of, previous London iterations.
Yep.
So their only real kind of Euro Cup kind of level offensive piece, well, Shavar Reynolds and Chonde Brown. Chonde Brown, I think, has been terrific. He's been showing his class. You can't leave him open. He's knocking down any look he's getting from free, and obviously as a slasher, he's domineering. But he's not an on-ball guy. He's not going to, create lots of self-created points. So he has to operate in the offense. And then Shavar Reynolds, he's more of like a crafty kind of mid-range guy. And I feel like against Manchester and London, he wasn't firing on all cylinders. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
basically they're not as good as previously.
Yeah, and that's just because of some major injuries. That it's almost going to be like they've done a lot of the hard work already, and they'll obviously win a lot of games. We're not saying it's going to be like they fall from grace. We're not at all. I'm just curious to see. Obviously, going 0-2 will kind of get the fireworks out in terms of get them back playing probably the way they want to. But because Sabonis at times over the weekend cut a very frustrated figure. And especially some of the turnovers as well. But yeah, curious to see when Tariq comes back in the lineup. When does Dean get back? They obviously had Ove back in the lineup. We saw
Jordan Williams.
Yeah. Insane. All right, let's go to. Do we talk about the madness of Surrey versus Leicester?
Of course we do. We have to. Sorry, Rob.
We have to. Sorry, Surrey fans. A game with 10 seconds on the clock, up by however 3 points, 4 points.
It's 4 points at the start of the run.
4 points, obviously, at the start of the run. How on earth does that even happen? For context, Leicester were missing Battle, Carey, and
Loving.
You just mentioned him, Mark Loving, and you go. I think a lot of people, maybe even Leicester fans as well, would have gone, yeah, what are we doing tonight? Well, this will be a tough game considering how Surrey have been playing. And my God, was everyone wrong.
Yep. And they threw it away. They sorried it. They sorried it.
We had probably put Surreying it in the bin. We thought they were over the hill.
We've taken it back from out of the bin, put it back in.
They've went back in the trash, and they have they surried it. If you look at Leicester, some of the shots though they hit, that's one of those.
That was a Spencer Johnson game.
That was. I was about to say Spencer
and
Johnson
and Rafe, big up.
You know what? He had 20 plus points, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He looked
brilliant.
Really good.
But when you
that's
look at
what happens when you give someone a chance. Give them a chance.
Give them the chance. But you look at. Like Johnson did that so many times last year for Leicester as well. Like that's not new. Like if you needed a big shot, like Johnson would step up and take it. Like he's a brilliant 3-point threat.
Yeah.
Like he's just the type of player. And I suppose let's look at the reaction at the end from Rob. Like
he was
that was insane.
He was elated.
He was jumping for joy, like proper jumping for joy. Like that win obviously meant a lot. And look, maybe Leicester have had to cancel a few games recently. Obviously, no 3 players available. We don't know the reason for that, especially after an international period. And you go, that's a huge win. And that felt like a big win for them, especially when you see Newcastle going 2-0. They needed that win. They really needed that win as a team to kind of keep themselves in that battle for, say, 6th place with Surrey and now Newcastle, you'd say. And even Bristol might fall into that discussion as well soon. And you go, actually, this midfield, mid to bottom of the playoff race is heating up. Like, it's just a shame we only have, 8 competitive teams.
Yep. Just everything's so tight, isn't it? It's just mad. We have to be one of the most competitive leagues in the world. It's insane.
We just need more teams to be as competitive, though. Like,
we need 9.
9
not
really
8.
competitive teams, not 8. But when you look at Leicester and you think missing those 3 guys, and normally you hear teams saying, yeah, you're missing 1 star player, people can step up, but 2 sometimes a step too far. But 3, like, they were legit missing their potential. Would you say class them as their 3 top players?
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say maybe not. Maybe Mark Loving in a past version you would class as a top player, but no, he still is that third guy in the roster, isn't he? So what a way for the rest of the roster kind of get around each other,
step up,
battle, step up, and show some love.
Loving
and carry the load. We are not available for hire as comedians. But I think that just says how crazy close this league is in terms of, we've talked about the top team in the country being London at the moment, going 0-2. Newcastle getting back in the groove, 2-0. Manny putting some real pressure in the build up to the cup final. Leicester winning the way they do and showing that excitement in the end. Skylar White scoring 7 threes for like fun, and all of them kind of done in different ways. Like we had, obviously, I doubt anyone skipped past Pat Robinson talking, but he's talked about how he's enjoying playing with guys like Skylar and Policelli. I think it just shows that actually the SLB is a brilliant league to watch.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, we need to pick ourselves up sometimes, give ourselves some validation.
You're good at doing that anyway for everyone, aren't you? In terms of when you look at the impact players have, but even just in terms of excitement. And okay, Surrey fans will be absolutely devastated the way in which their team lost. Is mortified worse than devastated?
Yeah, surely.
I'm both good description words for how they would feel. Devastated, mortified, like, yeah, they will be. And I'm really curious to see how they now bounce back from that. Like, from a Surrey point of view, like, they were on their up. January was their month. Like, they were the team of January.
And February has not been their month.
And February into now March has not been their month. Louis, anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about?
I think this has been a brilliant show, obviously having Pat Robinson on. So if you've enjoyed this show, please like, share, subscribe, click whatever medium you're listening to it. Give us a big like, give us some, if you're able to review us, give us 5 stars or 5, whatever it may be. And get involved in the conversation across all our social media platforms. Give Louis a follow across all the different platforms as well, as he is very much active on all them with all things SLB insights and stats and whatnot, and it's all very fascinating. So from all of us here, thank you for joining us for this week's episode, and we'll be back, and maybe Matt and Mitch and the whole gang will be together next week again, and yeah, we'll see you then.